Most of the works that I think resonate with people are works that have been inspired, where it hasn't been forced, and I finally sat down to the drawing board and I felt this piece coming through where it needed to happen and it needed to be expressed. The funnest part is when it comes from an idea. I don't really know where that comes from. It happens. And then the moment that that idea gets drawn onto paper and it becomes a three-dimensional form, that's really exciting for me. The marble is actually from the same quarry that Michelangelo quarried his stone from, so Carrara, Italy. A couple that moved here recently from New York City found me through a friend, and they've commissioned me to build a piece for their house, and currently that's what I'm working on. The sculpture is called Alaya, possibly. They didn't give me any direction at all, really. They said, we don't know what we want, but we want you to nail it. And I had the opportunity to present probably 20 or 30 drawings before they finally decided on one that clicked. It'll be a 9-foot tall sculpture. The whole piece will rotate once every hour on a mechanism that will be controlled from their iPhone or iPad. Well, the reason it rotates is it's about multiplicity of perspective, that so much we get stuck viewing something one way, and all we have to do is change our perspective to see it in an entirely different way. The final part where I'm getting to on this sculpture currently is the final refinement of the form, and it requires a lot of mindfulness of really being detailed and focused, and I enjoy that. In our country, culturally, an artist is viewed as someone starving and borderline destitute. In other cultures, artists are actually revered. Not entirely satisfied how I got left previously, and just trying to brighten it up and sort of contour it a little bit more and get it to a place that I'm happy with. This is The Mystery of Man, nicknamed The Big Head. It's the first piece that I cast, and I thought it'd be beneficial to me and my growth as an artist to learn the bronze casting process, where most artists will send them out to a foundry. I wanted to do it all myself, so I built and constructed the head out of masonite, cut and glued it together, which took almost 400 hours. Then I built the mold and then did the casting process, and now I'm working through the finishing phase. I'm about 700 hours in, still have a lot more time to go. The facets represent sort of the different facets of who we are as humans, and the brain I left open and constructed in the way that it did to sort of lend the mystery to who we are and how we think. So the title of this piece is Occam, which comes from Occam's razor, which is a principle that says among many assumptions, the simplest one is usually the best one. It's a piece about process. I wanted to explore a way of cutting metal that was used to cut the tiles on the space shuttle. It uses water at high pressure to cut the metal. It's also about deconstructing something, an everyday object like the razor, and giving new meaning to it. The same process to cut Occam was also used to cut Reaching Inward. Reaching Inward is about relationships and introspection, going inward to discover oneself and one's relation to other people and things. The piece took 4 months to make. It was a structural I-beam that was rusted and covered in paint, and I wanted to make it into a piece of art. So this piece is called Becoming the Now. The center describes how people, events, things, they come together just for a moment, but it's all interrelated and connected, and that center of the piece helps articulate just that precious moment. The piece is actually still in process, not quite finished with it. There's some things that I want to do to change it, kind of bring a little bit more air into the base and liven it up. So total, it's been about 4 to 5 months. So right now there's water in the base, but for the art show, I'm actually going to replace the water with milk. Visually, I think it'll be very interesting because there'll be a little bit of that translucence, and I think the white contrasting with the black granite base will just be visually powerful. In a very real sense, the ideas and projections and visions we had throughout our life are all a real big dream. Well, suffering occurs when we make reality much more solid and stickier than it really is. It's much more fluid in nature and much more dreamlike and illusory. I really like the idea of how we actually construct our own realities, and it begins from childhood. We're taught, we're indoctrinated by schools, teachers, friends and family into thinking that reality is much more solid than it really truly is. If you really deeply look into it and you really try to penetrate to its essence, you find that there's nothing there. You can't find any substance to your thoughts. You can't really find any consistent substance to your body. Your body is consistently changing and growing. Reality doesn't truly exist, not if you really look at it. Because if you look, you try to look at a thought. Like in Western, they say, I think, therefore I am. Buddhism would say, well, show me a thought. And you go, well, okay. If something exists, it has to have substance and color, right? Show me a thought. You can't.